News.mc on Monaco Info is brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties. Our exclusive interview with the personalities making the Principality.
My name is Olivier Wenden. I'm the CEO and Vice Chairman of the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation. I am 43, I was born in Monaco, and I've been at the foundation for already 10 years. I grew up in Monaco, and I always had a strong passion for diplomacy. And I was nurtured by Sciences Po, studies in France, and then Le Sorbonne in international trade. But very soon I felt the necessity also to get more involved with the Principality of Monaco and its international development. I was really strongly passionate about the topic, and I grew up in the 90s and studied abroad in the year 2000. And already by then, the challenges of the environment and sustainability were pretty core into even my studies. I immediately made the connection between environment and diplomacy, and the very interesting path that Monaco was following, especially when you were already looking at what His Serene Highness, Prince Albert, the hereditary prince at the time, was already achieving in that field. Environment, I can't say that is a passion, it's a main concern, and that was present in my mind for a very long time, since I was a kid, I would say. You know, when you go hiking with your parents or grandparents, and that you see the destruction year after year of nature, coming or starting with plastic pollution on land but also at sea. And when you go back to the same places year after year and you see that it's worsening year after year, then you start to question yourself about the way the world is shifting and moving, the way production can harm the nature and then the animals. And then very quickly, we were no longer facing any insects. And I guess you remember, as a young adult, when you were driving a bit fast on motorways or national roads, your screen was totally damaged with impacts of insects all the time. And I have to say, and maybe you paid attention to that, but in the last 15 years, usually your screen is just empty of that. There's no more insects in the nature. You figure out that we have so badly damaged everything, from the soil to our forests to our fish stocks, that even the insects start to disappear. And that was one of the leading reasons for me to also join the foundation 10 years ago when Mr. Fautrier, His Excellency Bernard Fautrier, who was at that time the Vice Chairman and CEO, called me in. He wanted to create a new position of deputy. I immediately said yes to work for this noble cause, noble institution, but also, and that was always a drive in my career, how can you get the more impact? And I thought that at the time, for Monaco, for the planet and the ocean, the foundation was probably one of the driving forces. Well, the ID card of the foundation is broad. I won't lie to you, we have a very large portfolio of activities that comes back to the decision of His Serene Highness when he launched the foundation back in 2006 to work on the mitigation of climate change and the impact on our daily life, the preservation of biodiversity on land and at sea, but also the preservation of freshwater ecosystems worldwide. In a nutshell, we work on the entire scope of environment and sustainability at the same time. The way we started to operate was a very traditional philanthropy. So His Serene Highness composed two governing bodies consisting of international experts in all our activity themes, but also with a gender balance and geographical balance. And these bodies were advising the team of the foundation on the projects we received and to assess whether they would be impactful. And if they were, we were financing them, traditional philanthropy. And I have to say that after 10 years of existence, given the credibility of the foundation and the track record of successes that we had, we decided, with the approval of His Highness and the board, to launch our own projects. And that was very rewarding. So we call them initiatives to just make a difference, because we want to continue to support local projects that benefit directly at the level of a village or a region, local communities. But again, driven by impact, we decided to launch our own project, these initiatives. We can count 13 of them right now. And they are programs where we feel it was a niche. You didn't have a lot of stakeholders involved on very thorny and important topics. So we wanted to drive the biggest stakeholders onto that topics. And to do so, we partnered with international institutions, research centers, universities, the private sector, and we'll come back to that in a minute, but also the civil society, just to bring to the table the right stakeholders to move the needle on certain topics. So today, 13 initiatives exist, from the fight against plastic pollution in the Med to preserving emblematic species that are at the brink of extinction, like the bluefin tuna, which is our main success so far, but also the monk seal. In the Med, we have a monk seal that is really suffering from human activities, I have to say. We are also quite strong in developing and strengthening marine protected areas in the Med, but also around the world, just to give you a sample of our own programs. I have to say that we are not the only one moving into that direction, but we are definitely one of the first movers. We are shifting from traditional philanthropy to impact investment. My philosophy there is that if you don't embark the private sector, we will not meet the daunting objectives that we have to address if we want to succeed in the environmental transition. If we want to meet the pledges that the states and companies have made for 2030, which is tomorrow and nothing has started yet. And also if we want to meet the objective of 2050 being carbon neutral. All the states at the UN level have pledged for such an ambitious and bold objective, yet there's still a lot to do. And if you don't bring the private sector in the equation, we'll be failing in that mission. And that's why the foundation, we decided to start working with innovation, technology and businesses that can bring a positive impact on marine ecosystems. We decided to focus on the global ocean. Of course, all these technologies have to be backed by science. We are not crazy. We are not believing that a magic trick could exist thanks to technology, but we need innovation. We need more business, and we need the support of science to identify that. Hence the launch in 2022 of the Ocean Innovators Platform. Born at the foundation, it's a community of 200 people around the world, CEO levels, founders, pension funds, banks, and philanthropists. We want to keep it that small because at the end of the day, in our mind, it's a B2B approach. We want to convince these big stakeholders that these solutions that we showcase, that are backed by the World Economic Forum, by MIT, Imperial College, you name them, have a positive impact. They just need to be scaled up and accelerated. And therefore, we give the opportunity, thanks to this platform, to do pure business. I would say the way we operate is, yes, we will continue to fund projects, assess them, monitor them to make sure that there is an impact at a very local level. And this is something very dear to His Serene Highness, to also work at a very local and community level. But we are also a global player. And in that case, we need to pool the money. We need to convince the financial institutions and businesses to shift their mindset, mainly to understand, when it comes to the global ocean, that it is a market. A sustainable blue economy can exist. I mentioned already the platform that we created. It became so successful in year one. We were very happy as well in year one to sign a partnership with the Walton family through Builders Vision to expand that platform globally from San Francisco now to Singapore. And it's been so successful that we decided to go a step further and say, well, wait a second, if you have these solutions, we believe in them, now let's invest in them and bring to the table other LPs. Hence the launch in 2023 of the ReOcean Fund, which is a venture capital private equity fund based in Luxembourg. And it is a joint venture between Monaco Asset Management and the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation, precisely to try at a very humble level to bridge the gap between existing finance for the sustainable blue economy and the needs. And just a quick figure on that, the World Economic Forum estimates that the world should invest $175 billion per year until 2030 to meet SDG 14, the UN Sustainable Goal dedicated to the ocean. Today, we have barely invested 10 billion globally on that topic. So we need more funds, and the ReOcean Fund is one out of 43 blue funds around the world. We're halfway there in our will to raise 100 million euros for the ocean. But again, keeping in perspective that we're talking about fundamental economic opportunities with cherry on the cake, a very positive impact on the ocean. We are not the government of Monaco. The foundation is an NGO, so totally independent and autonomous from the government. And we don't have the pretension to overstep one's responsibilities, but I would like to stress the fact that we work in very good terms with the government of Monaco and all institutions operating in the Principality of Monaco, from the Scientific Center, the Oceanographic Institute, of course, to leverage the vision of His Serene Highness on the global level. The government speaks on behalf of the Principality of Monaco, and the foundation will echo the official position of the Principality, but also follow its own agenda, as I said, to push and promote our initiatives. On another level, I will also recall that His Serene Highness is the chairman of the Legacy and Sustainability Department of the International Olympic Committee, which is also another opportunity for the foundation to develop new avenues of collaboration when it comes to sports, sustainability, and impact on the environment, of course. We don't want to interfere with the structure of the government of the Principality. His Serene Highness has appointed ambassadors to represent Monaco in general, and therefore we don't have brand ambassadors of the foundation. However, we have extremely committed board members and members of our scientific and technical committees that are extremely well-respected experts and key personalities around the world when it comes to environmental questions that do represent us extremely well. And we'd like to also praise our foreign branches. We have 11 offices around the world, from Washington to Beijing, Singapore, and now to Sao Paulo, to represent His Serene Highness, represent the foundation, be in contact with partners, and also start, I would say, assessing the potential projects that could benefit from our support in their regions. At our level, we don't cooperate directly at the governmental level or national level. We always work with other NGOs or supporting partners locally. When it comes to the question of climate, because you're addressing here climate change and how you can mitigate or fix the carbon problem that we have in the air. But let's be clear here, methane is a very high topic on the agenda as well when it comes to climate change impact. Let's maybe start by stating the obvious, which is totally under the radar. Our best ally when it comes to carbon sink is called the global ocean. It's not even the forest. Before the forest, we have the global ocean, which is suffering very badly. The ocean is also absorbing 90% of the heat generated by human activities. We don't know that. We also tend to forget that international trade is seaborne and it's not done by plane. What we also tend to forget is that 90% of the population lives next to a coastline. Not even to say that the protein that humanity absorbs every day comes mainly from the sea. So we are totally dependent and reliable on the health of the ocean, and we don't know that very well. And back to your question, the carbon sink. Yes, we need to protect the ocean. That's our best ally. When it comes to forest on land, there's an urgency to conserve what can be conserved. And the primary forests are invaluable assets to planetary health. We were all reassured, I guess, last year when we saw that the Amazon forest deforestation was, for the very first time in a decade, slowed down, which is already a good sign and positive sign, yet not enough. I think we reached a level where only regenerative projects can be valuable. That means that we went so far in the destruction or the impact on the natural assets that we need to promote scientific solutions and or technology that would help rejuvenate what has been destroyed. We are developing a strong network of partners that help us. I told you initially that there's no magic trick, and I strongly believe in that. It's like the answer is a mix of energy will be the solution. There will be not one energy that will play the magic trick. But depending on where you are, depending on the assets of your country, then you can pick and choose what suits you best. So the mix of solution is probably ideal. And when it comes to regeneration of the planet, of the forest, of the ocean, we have to be careful about one thing, is geoengineering, precisely. So at the foundation level, our vision there is to support scientific research that analyze the impact of geoengineering solution on the ecosystems. I'll give you a very recent example. We are currently financing a research program to assess the impact of alkalinization on certain species. Because what sounds like a good option, a good solution, may have even worse consequences. So I don't even mention the will of certain companies and states to send in the atmosphere some sulfur. On the paper, should allow to divert the sun rays back to the space. The ocean in general is totally unknown. The more I speak with investors and the public in general, the more I understand that there's a massive lack of education still and awareness in the ocean, which is very surprising, especially when we come from a country that is open to the sea. That's the first thing, education. The second thing, and again, by launching the Re-Ocean Fund, we talk a lot now to institutional investors, and yes, they still don't understand that the ocean is connected to the general economy, like ecology. I mean, the main point of divergence and the source maybe of every challenge that we face now is that probably ecology and economy live their own life, separate life for 100 years. And so we tend to forget that there's no economy without ecology. Raw materials that we need and the natural assets that we need to develop our economy is called ecology. So we need to reconcile that. And ocean is the same. You need to understand that it is a market, it is economic value, it is opportunities, it is jobs. And so the more we talk with investors, the more we understand that probably now the blue economy is what the green economy was 15 years ago, which means it's a very nascent market. There's still the perception that investing in the blue is more risky than investing in other assets, like even in the green or the windmills that you mentioned, the solar panels. It is at the moment where you need to prove to the market that the risk is not higher, and you need to prove that investing in these companies in general can be profitable. Today, when it comes to blue funds, they're all in the first phase. So there's no really a track record. And we feel that the large stakeholders, sovereign fund, pension funds, they wait and see. They need to make sure that it will be a profitable investment. So that's where we stand. That's why it's a very challenging and rewarding moment, because it's shifting in the right direction. We all hope quicker. 2022, 2023, a political momentum backed what I just said with the high seas agreement to protect, 70% of the ocean, which was for years, until now, not regulated at all, or not belonging to anyone, and the source of many issues at sea, including overfishing. There was also a 30 by 30 agreement, which means to protect 30% of land, 30% of the sea by 2030, which is again tomorrow. A talk has started at the UN level about a plastic treaty. So these three agreements can definitely, again, leverage the interest at this time national, international level for the blue economy. So this is all positive sign. Again, don't be naive. It's a nascent market. You have a growing portfolio of companies. It's doubling every other year, but still a small one. Education is central in everything, from the general public to the decision makers and the business owners. Usually we don't talk the same language, so it's education in silo. You have to address the topics depending on the center of interest of each community, I would say. But let's be honest, we are way in advance with the fantastic job that is operated by the government at the education level in every single class, in every single level. There's awareness program on environment, but also concrete actions that can be done around the year, from cleanups to planting trees nearby. And again, the question is more, what do you do after school? What do you do after your studies, in your daily work? Maybe it was a first step, but having someone within a company that is in charge of ESG or sustainability is the wrong way to go, because that should be transversal and totally, included in the mindset of every single staff member. It's still not the case, which means we have to educate probably better and further. That's where we are. So we are fighting a battle against time today. Don't get me wrong, I still think the world is moving in the right direction, but too slowly. So the foundation, yes, we support educational program, we support financially, for instance, because you were quoting Monaco, a very nice program to bring organic gardens to every single school and then embark the teacher in educational classes around the year with the pupils. We also support documentaries, movies, exhibitions. We have created our own exhibition and contest, which is an environmental photography contest with a great success. More than 10,000 photographies received this year, with 4,000 photographers from around the world participating in that. What we also launched at the foundation is a program targeting the under 35, because we want to promote a new generation of talents. And that's back to my point. I think in every single business or activity, we should have talents that think sustainability at every level. It is no longer becoming, a specific department within the company. So the way we operate is called regeneration. We recruit talents under 35 that are not students. They have their own career already. They are brilliant minds, brilliant experts, and we recruit in a very holistic way. So they can be scientists, they can be sportsmen, they can be activists, financial experts. We choose the community to be as diversified as possible from all continents. And then every year we form a campus of 10 to 15 extremely talented young people that will receive a training in leadership that we developed with INSEAD and University of Edinburgh. That means management in multicultural environments, that means psychology, that means identify what kind of manager you are yourself, that also means solving issues within your group, within your team, to help them grow. After that, we follow them for 12 months by giving them the opportunity to take the floor on behalf of the foundation or during events that we organize or co-organize abroad, just to make sure that their voice is amplified and that they can ultimately become a leader instead of a manager. I think we are mainly focused on environment, but in a very pragmatic way. There's no environment without human development. What I mean by human development is economic development. That's the reality. We will not be able to succeed by preventing some people around the world from their human development. So the way we operate and the way we choose the projects is always centered on the environment, yes, but it has to involve the local communities always. And it's not one or the other. We believe that we can have a win-win situation. So in certain part of the world, we have experienced great projects like in Madagascar, for instance, with a hospitality center. In a similar way, in Congo region, we developed a scientific center of excellence to train new rangers to protect their forest and receive income for doing that. And it was so successful that we developed a similar center in Indonesia. November 2023, we decided to launch a worldwide program on forests and communities. And the way we addressed that was to listen. And I think it's quite rare in this world to just bring these leaders, bring these communities, and listen to what they need, listen to their story, and then try to adapt and define an action plan to support them. And that was point number one on the list. Help us develop new sources of income so we can protect our primary forest better. It's been 70 years that scientists have been warning the world about the wall that we're going to hit if we don't steer the wheel in the right direction. Okay? Did that work? No. A lot of scary documentaries, scary movies, it didn't work. Then, I would say 15 years ago, it was a new era. Moralization. You should do this, you should not do this. These countries should now do this, whereas these other ones should do that. It didn't work really either. We're still in this status quo. So again, we have this feeling, and don't get me wrong, moving in the right direction, but too slowly, but it's not generalized, and we need probably bigger means and more political will to steer that wheel, finally. Scaring people, moralizing people doesn't work. And again, what is really working, if we want to embark the more people, is investing, creating economic opportunities. And that's probably why, on the ocean question, to be back to that, we feel that there is a moment where we can do that together. We can prove that you can have this triple win, a win on the economy, a win on the jobs, a win on biodiversity. And that's why we go in that direction and put a lot of means and efforts to bring the right stakeholders there. The blue, the green, as long as it remains a topic considered by people as philanthropic, that's where you have the limit of the system. You need to define a more sustainable, sometimes business approach to the topic to make sure that if the NGOs in charge, even the big ones, even the American ones, even Bill Gates with Breakthrough Energy, you have to make sure that when they stop funding, that the solution can still be implemented to the benefit of the community. And that's the limit of philanthropy. That's why philanthropy can only be seen as something to trigger, to start, to be the seed investment in something, but in something bigger that needs to be sustainable. And today, the only answer to that is private sector. And of course, when it's backed by public international regulation, it goes faster. When we're all working in the right direction, it goes faster and probably better. But we need to start somewhere. We can't just sit and wait. We have to act. And that's when the private sector, if you have a sustainable model, can listen to you and make the change happen. That's a tradition in Monaco, and the Grimaldi family has been instrumental in putting Monaco on a map for culture, sports, philanthropy, collaboration and cooperation around the world. And that's typically probably because of the size also of the country. We are very open to the sea, very open to the world. It is probably in our recent years, because thanks to the action of our princes and residents, we are a wealthy state, and people are inclined to give back to society and community. And therefore, that's probably why it's a capital, a reference when it comes to philanthropy and give back. We can be proud, I think, with what has been achieved in the Principality in all these sectors and years.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching News.mc, your English rendezvous on Monaco Info. Discover more interviews and stories on our websites, news.mc and monacoinfo.com. This show was brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties.